the one thing I've noticed in this 5 game, it's everything is related to details, and all of their details have gone out the window. So it's like when you mentioned line changes, which there's a couple in the past 5 games, awful line changes led to goals, missed coverage on faceoffs, which has happened a boatload of times. It's led to goals, turnovers in the offensive and the defensive zone, and then back checking has been horrendous for the Edmonton Oilers. Unfortunately, they're just guys aren't marking their guys coming back. It doesn't seem like there's any communication. So when that's the case and your details are missing, that's more of a, are you locked in and ready to play more than anything? Because I don't think it's hard to say it's a skill issue with Edmonton. It's typically when they go on these runs, these losing streaks, it's always details, and are they not? I hate to say lazy, but it always worries me sometimes. And I love Connor and I love Leon, but Leon at the starting of the year saying, we don't really care. We've been in the finals. Like these preseason games don't matter. And then Connor kind of saying it's hard to get up for these games after Four Nations. It's like, I don't know if that's what I want the message to be sent to my teammates, is that like, this isn't important, So for me, I always get a little bit, it's tough because they do so much for this franchise, and I don't want to call them out, and I'm not calling them out. I know what they've done, and Connor struggled in the past 5 games. But when you're saying those things, we all know that it's hard to get up for it, but we don't want you to echo that, because once you echo that, it's just normal there's going to be a couple guys in the room that are going to be like, well, like, you don't care about us. And it's not to say that playing for your country, like he was at Four Nations, that's bigger than that's the dream of a lot of guys to do that versus win a Stanley Cup, if you'd ask him. So, for them, I understand what he's saying, but I'm just like, keep it to yourself. There's a lot of guys that have come back from Four Nations and they've been even more on fire. So it's like, I don't accept that as an excuse. I just think it's, if you're feeling that way, don't say it, because it's just translated into his game and you can see it. He's saying it and you're seeing it, the body language. Hasn't been great and hasn't been himself. And he was great in Four Nations. And it's not to say he doesn't care about winning a Stanley Cup. He does. He wants to win. I'm sure it's burning inside of him. But I think he just had a big letdown after the Canada USA final game at Four Nations. So he just needs to not say that stuff in the media. That's just my opinion. Just don't put those words out there.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of weird messages coming out of like these post-game medias or pre-game, whatever it may be. And the other one too that stood out was Knoblauch called the team fragile. Like, what do you think that means about the group? Like, what is he kind of trying to tell us, I guess you could say?
And just to kind of follow up on that too, what kind of message do you think that would have on this Oilers room, hearing like, okay, our coach just called us fragile? Like, is that something you think can wake them up? Or is it the too cool for school vibes? Is that just going to be like, okay, seriously, this guy's saying that about us?
Well, that's the thing that, worries me when you hear those things. And we have said at times, this Oilers team, it's very much, if they're bought in and they're ready to go, they're hard to stop. But if they check out and they don't want to play, I mean, it's hard to get them going. And they very much do follow the top two guys on that team. And you can just see the trickle-down effect. You see a lot of mistakes that I haven't seen all year by the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, dating back to the losing streak they had at the beginning of last year. That's what it seems like to me. Mm-hmm. So that worries me at this point of the season. When they say fragile, I always go with frustrated. I think they're frustrated, and they're allowing that to seep into their game. I mean, you see Leon kick the door, leaving the ice, and these guys want to win. We're competitors. I used to, I was a fiery guy that loved screaming on the bench and would snap, but you don't want that to kind of leak into the locker room and guys start resenting each other. And I feel like he's maybe leading towards that. And now I'm not in the room, so I can't really say much about that. But it's also a weird thing that has happened in Edmonton in the past. I don't know how many years. You guys would probably know exactly the years, but there just seems to be like, does the message get stale in the locker room? And is it really a team that can only have a coach for like 16 months? Because it's like, and I'm not going on and I don't think I think Knoblauch's been great. I think Coffey's been great. It's just like, I don't understand why there's no other team that in the league, no top team that's like a Stanley Cup contender that they'll go on losing streaks, but like when the Oilers decide to go on a losing streak and aren't playing their game, it's like apparent. Like everybody in the league, you can see it. You're like, what the hell's going on? Versus the other top teams. So it's like, what is the issue there? That's what I think he's trying to get to the bottom of now, Block, of maybe saying like we are a fragile team of like when things aren't going, we pout and we think, we're better than we actually are because they haven't really won anything yet. They got to the finals, game 7. I mean, what a Stanley Cup run they had last year, but it's not guaranteed you're going to get back there. And I don't know if they have the same pieces that they did last year. I think up front, when they're going, they have a lot that's cooking, but if we look back to that Stanley Cup run, they had to rely on both goalies and they had to rely on some big efforts by the D-corps and the penalty kill to get there. Right now, do they have those same pieces, and can the goaltending duo do what they did last season in the playoff time, time?
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.